we stand for opening prayer. Dear Lord, we ask that you guide us this evening and give us wisdom and understanding and knowledge in governing this town. And we ask your blessing on all present and all those on our police force and our fire department and all the former officials that are here and those who are in our council. We ask this for our solicitor as well. In the name of Christ, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if the council would review the minutes of the last meeting from July 16th. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Michelle seconded.
No. I'll be Frank.
Your motion, Frank seconded.
Yes. Zena?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Skip?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Now the minutes of August 6th. And a motion to accept those minutes. Athena and Bud seconds it.
Yes.
Sandy? Skip?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next are the borough's bills from the general fund. And a motion to accept those. Frank Pisano and Skip seconds.
Zena?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next are the borough bills for the fire department. Athena accepts them and Sandy seconds.
Zena? Yes. Sandy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I'd like to welcome all the guests, and if you have any comments, you can speak now, if anyone has a comment.
Just for a brief second, I'd like to say a lot of the times these guys don't become recognized enough. Our officers who keep our town safe and keep a good community where our children are safe. I'd just like to thank Officer Side Medal, Officer Shea for their service as officers.
Thanks, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. Mike Edmund, please.
I'd like to suggest, I don't know if we can, do it. If we could get a barrier. Now, they're tearing Jersey barriers off the bridge, so we might be able to get one donated to put up by the railroad crossing on Ida Street. We've had, just recently again, somebody tried to drive up over the tracks and got stuck on the tracks again. And this isn't the first time that's happened. So I thought if we could get one of the Jersey barriers from they're taking off the bridge over there and get them to donate it to us, because they'll probably scrap those anyhow, and get them to set one there, and maybe it'll deter them to realize that they can't get up over the top of those tracks there and go on down Fourth Avenue.
That's
Just
a good suggestion.
Just a suggestion.
That's good.
Thank you.
We will have our maintenance man go down there and talk to them about that.
Yeah, we could. We can get
That's a great idea.
pilot down there and load one up. I know they're heavy.
Okay.
And just bring it up and set it there. It wouldn't cost the borough anything except the gas. We have to go get it.
We might even be able to get Raymond to bring it up for us with their equipment. Maybe they can bring one up if they're that heavy for our backhoe, couldn't pick it up. Maybe we can get them to. You can go down at the rectory and talk to the PennDOT guy and Raymond down there.
Yeah, I've seen at least 2 so far. And I know there've been more than where I haven't been home. And they're just up over the tracks and nose dive right into the bank on the other side.
Who comes and pulls them out, Mike?
This last time they had a flatbed come down and I was out there, I just held the light for the guy so he could get underneath it, but with the nose down into the bank, I mean, they play hell trying to get the chains up underneath there and then pull it up, towards Tyke's house.
Yeah.
It's a wonder somebody hasn't got killed yet. But I've seen 2 of them over the last 30 years. And I know I haven't been here for all of them.
Okay, John has another comment he'd like to make.
I don't drive anymore, so I don't know how many signs are up about the bridge being shut down, but I've noticed a lot of heavy semi-truck traffic coming up Mount Street lately here. Guys are lost on where to go. We had a semi-truck up there today that was jammed up that was asking for directions how to get around it. And some of these semi-trucks can't go down to Wampum Bridge because the viaduct's too low. I had to bring a tape measure out this morning and have a guy measure his pipes to see if he could go around that way. If they can maybe post a couple more signs up. Maybe there needs to be a sign right there the second they go into the curve. Maybe the state hasn't put up enough detour signs.
We did contact Raymond Construction on that. There were posts on Facebook in regard to trucks and people in general not being able to find their way. But their comment to me was that this happens in every single construction project they're on. They post the signs and people don't read the signs.
Yeah.
And they think that they're going to be able to get across the bridge anyway.
Right.
So I kind of agree with you as far as I think there should be a sign further down on 18 before you even get to the red light. But and we considered, Ken and I were talking about our maintenance, Ken Arico here. We talked about possibly calling PennDOT. I don't know who's responsible for the signage exactly. I'm assuming that it's Brayman who is the one who puts up the signs.
I noticed on my way down here that as they come up to that curve there on Arthur where you curve to the left, if we had a big sign on that pole right there, they can't see that because half of these people are blind anyways. They don't pay attention. But if they had a sign there, that'd give them an opportunity to do something different.
Well, the only thing is we can contact them again and ask them to relook at their signs and see if they can put more signs up or reposition them in other places and see where we can go. We can call both PennDOT and Brayman Construction. So.
Because if they come up Mount Street, all that's doing is creating more potholes which the town doesn't need that expensive fixing potholes up there.
That's for sure. Okay, if there are no other guest comments, we will have the police review the police report. I noticed you guys have been pretty busy.
Yeah, it has been. That's been picking up.
Are we giving warnings to the people that live in town, or are we just writing them up too for
Well,
things?
I'm sure we give warnings to people. I mean, there's no set rule who gets a warning, who gets written up. You know, like-
Well, past practice has been, if you're a resident in the town, you usually gave them the courtesy of a warning
You'd
if they
have
did
to
something
talk
in
to-
town.
You'd have to talk to the chief about that issue. I mean, the individual officer has discretion whether he wants to issue a warning or a citation. That's usually up to the individual officer. I can tell you that's not a policy, nor is it that your solicitor can comment on policies about that. That would be a legal policy to have enforced. Byron, am I correct?
You're correct. I mean, it's within the officer's discretion. If the officer thinks that the violation is bad enough that a citation should be issued, they can do that. If they believe that there was a good faith or just a mistake, they can accept the excuse given by the driver, and they have the opportunity to provide a warning.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I understand if somebody points a gun to somebody's head, you're gonna cite them. But I mean, if they run a stop sign and they just coast through it, or in the past, we always took the courtesy, if you're a resident, to give them a warning. And I just wondered how it was going, if that's still the same thing, because I've got a couple of people telling me they got written up lately.
Yeah, I did too.
You did too?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's up to the chief of police.
That live in town now.
That live in
I
town.
understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That's not a written policy, and it's.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to say that you shouldn't give that same opportunity to somebody
I guess
else.
they run it. I
Some
say
are
coast
getting-
through it, you
They don't
know.
get the
In
ticket.
hindsight,
They're getting the ticket.
if you have a policy in effect like that,
If you're gonna have it one way or the other way, that's not better.
Please.
You're basically giving permission to local residents to disobey the law. Okay, and and your solicitor's gonna tell you here, it's an individual basis. You know, whether they get a warning, whether they get a ticket, every officer's different in how they approach that. Tendency is they probably give more warnings to local residents, but that's not a policy, nor that's a given.
Right, I understand that.
Understand that. Okay, each individual officer is different, that's something that needs to be addressed with the chief of police, which I'm not, and your solicitor to do that. But I understand where you're coming from, I understand what the comments you're making, and I can't real comment on that because it's actually in violation of the law to say that that's a policy. Does Martin just agree with me? And-
No, it should not be, it will not be a condoned policy. What I'm saying is that if in fact the officer in his discretion believes that there was a mistake, or that the individual, believed he had stopped long enough, but the officer believes, or like, I think they call them California stops, where you just sort of slide up to the sign and then go through. A deliberate violation, normally a citation will be issued.
Okay, our engineer is not here tonight, so we will go on to the solicitor's report.
Well, I did review, there is a, believe it or not, PennDOT did go with the brake retarder that we had requested more than a year ago. So I'm going to review that with our engineer, and we'll go over that as far as passing either an ordinance to require that they not be permitted to do that, to use the brake retarder. Of course, that is going to definitely be on a state highway, and I think Big Beaver was also notified about that. And then, of course, they'll have to have signs posted. The other thing that we have is that today, Judge Faust did in fact sign an order which allowed us to, for the allowance of our tax assessment appeals There was a mistake made by the county solicitor's office, and I don't want to say mistake, but we reviewed the law today with the assistant solicitor, and he was in agreement that based on the fact that it is used for a municipal purpose and that the properties are owned by the municipality, the county would have to prove that we're not using it for a municipal purpose, which we are, and therefore those properties will be tax exempt. The judge also removed them from any sheriff's sale requirement that I saw that they had posted. And the other thing is that rather than go through the hearing, as long as we provide the county with an affidavit that this is, municipal, ball field, this and that they probably won't even require the hearing. And also Portnoy agrees with me. Kyle, I think it's Kyle Miller, sent me an email indicating that he agreed with my explanation and that he did not appear today, and the county agreed to consent to our motion. So there was no opposition.
So does that mean that then that it's a stay on the sale?
Well, yes, all the properties have been stayed.
Okay.
All right, so there would not be a sheriff's sale on, I believe it was the 9th. The other thing is, though, we'll provide the county solicitor's office with an affidavit that those are municipal properties for municipal use, and then we probably will not even be required to have a hearing in front of a judge on the issue.
So then it would then be made at that time, a final decision on exoneration?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's pretty much set in stone right now that that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
That's it.
That's good. Any questions on that from our council members? No. Next is our fire department.
We did have our auction last Tuesday. Everything did go really well. And then this past Saturday, we did a vendors show. And then I guess, from what I'm understanding, we did have some people participate in the yard sale. I didn't hear anything back on the yard sale, but things kind of went very well with the vendor show. So we might end up doing that again probably in the near future.
I intended to come down, and just as I was getting ready to come down, it started to pour down rain. That stopped your music, I think, at some point.
Yeah, that was only going on from 3 to 5.
Okay.
But the actual vendor show itself went on from 9 until 5.
Okay.
Yes, 9 to 5.
Okay. So you are planning to do it again?
I think they're planning on doing it again, yes.
Okay.
It was turned out nice.
A lot of people said they didn't know about it, and I think it would be a good idea to maybe do some more advertising.
I know it was all across social media as far as like Facebook and everything else. We did have some signs up, around the bend here on 5th, but we didn't keep those signs up.
It was nice to hear the music, and I did notice a lot of people up around where I live that had stuff out. It was nice.
The band itself is actually a local band, so I think a lot of local people.
Thank you. Okay, the maintenance report. Federico.
There's a few different items I'd like to mention. One is we definitely need some first aid kits. We'd like to have at least 3. One to keep in the Borough building, one to keep in the police station, and one that I can put in whatever vehicles we're using at the time. Another thing, I discussed this with Barb several times, and she's putting out a newsletter, but I believe that the residents in town, we need to hear your input for the street department. We have to hear all the residents' input. A lot of people feel that they're complaining or whatever it may be, but it's not complaining. To me, it is information. If your alleys are bad, if your street's bad, we want to hear about it. Don't think you're complaining. We shouldn't even take it as a complaint. What we're going to do is, what that does is make me aware of spots that are potentially bad. So I'll go out to those spots and then I'll prioritize the work. Because I'm just one guy, and if I spent all my time going on the streets looking for potholes or looking for a bad alley, I wouldn't get anything fixed. So we appreciate your comments on what's going on in the town, for the streets and the alleys, street signs, anything that you might feel that needs done for the town. You should be able to say something and either come to Borough building and let us know, or in some type of media, any way we can find out. Don't feel you're complaining, because really that's it. Every time I hear something, I go out and I look. And if it's a high priority, it gets taken care of right away. I have to prioritize the jobs I do because I'm one guy. So I can't be at every street all the time. I'll give you an example. We were told that the one alley was bad, in really bad shape. I hadn't been on that alley for probably over a month, and we had the heavy rains. When I checked that alley, it was the worst I've seen in town, the absolute worst. And I spent over half a day repairing that alley. But we didn't know about it until somebody said they were complaining about it. And there was people saying, oh, they're complaining again. That's not the case. We want to hear it. We have to hear it. Because, yeah, if we had a suggestion box, anything that can work. Yeah, because we need to know. That's the way things are going to get done. I mean, if it's a small pothole behind somebody's parking space, I'm sorry, that's probably really low on my priority list. But if it's something like that alley was in bad shape. It had a crater in it. I needed to work on that. So we need to know about it. We appreciate any information. And also, I'd like to ask council if there's a possibility, I don't know if you'll put it up for a vote or what you might need to do. I'd like to have that old salt shed that's there torn down. That salt shed, it's an eyesore. It's not functional. The weather blows right into it. And what we really need is we need a new pad to lay our salt on, because we're losing salt. That pad tilts the wrong direction. There's no curb to hold anything in, and we discussed this in our last meeting. Yeah, we lost at least 2 tons of salt over, from spring, or from the time spring started. We had about 2 tons in that shed, and all that rain, it's gone. There's not a grain of salt left in it. So, I'd like to try to save that salt. I'd like to try to have something a little bit more appropriate looking for our property there. I mean, I realize it's not our property even. It's the railroad property that we're using there. But it should look a little more presentable.
We're leasing it, according to.
Yeah.
You'd have to watch putting something permanent on.
Yeah, that's right.
I was thinking, why couldn't we do something, we own other properties, why couldn't we do it down by the ball field or by the church or something like that?
Right where that motor
Well, that presents a little bit of a problem also.
Yeah.
Because, again, I'm one guy. So if it was down by the ball field, I'd have to drive the truck down there, walk back up to the city building, drive the backhoe down there, fill up the truck, and it'd be a little bit. I'm not worried about me having to do it, but I mean it just seems kind of ridiculous. We do have a place we could use. We could do something.
It is paved. The area where he has his salt, it is already paved with blacktop, and it's in poor condition. But is there a difference between?
Level too. It's right at
Yes,
ground level,
right.
so the rain just comes in and saturates it all the
Exactly.
time and takes it, whatever melts in the rain takes it away, and it's probably no grass growing
Why don't
around
we
there
just
either.
pour a new slab and put a little pole builder
Well,
on
I actually took it upon myself to get estimates for a slab to put in there. Two different sizes. One of the reasons why we picked the sizes we did is for the amount of salt that we get. And the other thing with it is, even if we don't build a building over it, if I just put a tarp over the salt, if we have a pad that is properly sloped and has curbs around three sides, we won't have to worry about that salt. It's not gonna get wet, it's not gonna get saturated, it's not gonna run out of there. So,
Kind of
I have one estimate, I have a couple of other estimates coming.
What's the ballpark on the one you have?
The ballpark would be, for the slab and the curb, it would be a little over $7,000. Now, I also, before I got the estimate, I priced things out myself because we could pour it ourselves. If we pour it ourselves, we're gonna have approximately $4,500 worth of material. So for another $33,000, less than $3,000, we could have someone else actually do the job.
it. How many yards do you figure?
There's gonna be, let's see, the curb is gonna be the biggest because it's gonna be a 1 foot thick curb, 18 inches deep. So there's gonna be 16 yards in that and 8 yards in the pad for a 20 by 20 pad. The 20 by 20 pad in itself can hold the amount of salt that we receive now, which is about 22, 24 ton at a time. If we get a building, if we build a building over this, there's a couple different options of building it. There are some types of washout block that can be put up around the outside. And if the salt is piled up high enough on a 20 by 20 pad, if the salt's piled in the middle of it, I just had a guy, one of the guys I called for an estimate told me the height of it. 6 foot high is the height of the wall you would need to put 90 to 100 ton of salt in a 20 by 20 area. So we would have washout block, three of those blocks, they're 2 foot by 2 foot. We'd have 3 of them high going around the curb.
And 90 ton would be what we use for the whole year.
Yeah, that would be the whole year. So we could store the whole year's worth if we had a building there and we had the washout block and we put it together. Now I've checked some estimates and I'm getting more estimates also. But it seems like everybody that is talking to me about putting some type of a roof over that, without building it out of wood or anything, it's they have material, they have different arches, they have a lot of different styles. Everybody is telling me around $35,000 to have that built. And have that built.
Wow, that's.
Well, what about, Mike suggested Jersey barriers for blocking the street. What if we use Jersey barriers around the pad for the walls?
That's basically what that washout block is kind of like.
I mean,
We could
get
do
those
that.
for free, maybe, if we can get them, to give us enough of them, maybe get some of those for free.
Yeah, we could certainly do that.
The only difference is the washout block are nice and straight, and the Jersey barrier comes down, they have like a leg that comes out, so when
And they
he's
also
talking about putting them up against the curb, so if he pushes stuff over the curb, then it's gonna get stuck in between that, where the square ones would fit right up against our curb.
It's still gonna save us some money.
Yeah, right, yeah, that's, yeah.
If you're gonna need that many
Did you get
yards of cement for the
price for
curbing?
concrete work from the guy by the name of Darren Bushel?
No.
He just opened up a company, he quit Koppel still. That's what he's doing. He's a friend of mine. Let me throw him a call and tell him to come down and meet you.
Yeah. it'd be a good
Because
idea.
he's looking for work and he'll probably be a little bit reasonable, I think, you know.
That'd be definitely a good
All right,
idea.
I'll take care of that for you and have him come see you during the day. All right?
Yeah.
Yes, and Ken's suggestion about the slab was that we wouldn't really need, he would use a tarp. We could get by on that. We don't need to have an elaborate building. You know,
Yeah, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with that shed, that salt shed we have. They put the salt shed up and the weather blows right into it. So they put a tarp over the front of it. Now, what's the difference between having an eyesore looking shed like that with a tarp or just a pad with a hump of salt and a tarp over it? I think it would look a lot neater and a lot cleaner, it would stay better.
Because you could connect the tarp into the ground then, like, set it
Well,
up.
well, my idea was to anchor the tarp on the back end.
Yeah,
Anchor it with like a hinge
yeah.
on the back end, and to drape it over the salt. And I was going to have like flat cement blocks, and I was just going to glue a handle to it,
Okay.
and put 5 or 6 of those around, so it'll keep the tarp down and it won't go anywhere, and it'll be neat and it'll be easy to use.
So, can we put this to a vote as to whether we could tear the shed down and,
Yeah, the shed's not serving any purpose now, right? You might as well get rid of it. And then we'll collect some bids for the pad and go from there.
okay. So who would make a motion? Do we have to make a motion for that? To tear the shed down?
Well, I mean, you're just going to approve it, yes, so, I mean,
Okay.
fine. Probably you could just administratively just tell them tear it down.
Can I make a motion to purchase 3 first aid kits though
Before we go any further.
Yeah, before we forget, I was trying to keep that in the back of my mind.
Good question. Since that is railroad property, would we have a problem by putting a concrete pad on there?
Like I said, there's already a blacktop pad there, so that's
It's been that way
current.
for years.
Yeah, the only thing is we could lose the pad, that's all. They can come in and tell us your lease is up.
As far as I know, they've used that area there for the past at least 70
Yeah, when they
years.
tore down the train station, Koppel started renting it.
I wondered if we could make a salt shed that looked like a little train station. Wouldn't that look nice?
That would look adorable.
So we don't need a motion to tear it down.
Well, I did make a separate
But
motion.
she did a motion
Okay.
to purchase 3 first aid
Is
kits.
3 all that you require? Do you need more? I would
If
say
we could
more.
get more, I mean, I'm
How
not
many do you
sure.
need?
I'm not sure what, you know, a lot of times, I know volunteer organizations seem to get them for free
Right,
from a lot of different medical groups.
yeah.
But if we have to purchase them, 3, I believe, is all we really need to have. I can't see us having to have more than that. Because if I have one that can go in a vehicle, I can take it from one vehicle to the other. I don't have to have one for each vehicle.
Okay.
And you make a motion? to-
Yes, I've made a motion.
And you seconded it?
What's the
For
motion
the,
for?
To purchase
First
3 first aid kits.
3 first aid kits.
I second it, whatever.
And we're just gonna,
Yes.
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 yes. Okay, so then we're gonna just tear the shed down.
If anybody wants to bring marshmallows, we're gonna burn them
Okay.
Next is the mayor's report.
Well, at the work session, we hired 2 police officers. Lane Baker was our full-time. He has since quit already and taken a job in Uniontown for more money, and it was closer. The other officer is our part-time officer, Shay Sarcone, and she's our part-time, and she's been then training with the chief and so forth and riding with Art, and we're getting her up to speed in town. So that's basically it. We're looking to hire another full-timer or maybe move somebody up or whatever. So we're looking. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, I'd like to take this time to introduce to you Mary Sue Benkowski. She's our new borough secretary. She's in training with our very efficient Karen Krupa. So they've been on a crash course.
What's that face you make?
She's thinking she's writing.
They've had some real stressful moments with it entails quite a bit of information to absorb. So thanks, Mary Sue, for taking the position. Okay, the next is our unfinished business is approval of our ordinance 398. It's the motor vehicle and traffic ordinance. So if we could have a motion to accept that is Bud. And Sandy seconds.
Dina?
Yes.
Sandy? Skip? Do you know what we're doing? We're approving ordinance 398, our traffic.
Yes.
Vehicle and traffic ordinance. Yeah?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, next is discussion on the Mount Street repaving, and that is for the purpose of Koppel Steel, the entrance of Koppel Steel, and the PA American Water putting a water line or a sewer line down the middle of the street. Because our bids the bid that we did have was in excess of what the state line is for that. I think it's 20,500. Is that correct?
I'll look
Yeah.
here, I'll tell you.
I think it's 20,000.
They moved it up.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The bid anyway is like 56,000. So I was talking with our mayor about this, my advisor, and we think that we are going to have to advertise for bids for that, even though we already do have several bids. We do need to advertise for that. So,
I might mention too about Koppel Steel, are going to reimburse us for the paving and so forth afterwards. They can't pay it up front, they just can't pay for a public street to be paved, but they can possibly reimburse us afterwards for the cost.
All right, the limits are below 11,100. There is no formal bid. Between 11,100 and 20,600, you require the 3 telephonic bids, and then over 20,600 requires a formal bid.
So
These are the new limits that were set in January.
Well, I think the first part of your motion has to be, since Brandon's not here, Jim used to, remember Jim did wrote up our bids for paving streets and so forth, because he knew all the aggregates and everything that we needed. Since Brandon's not here, Barb, somebody should contact Brandon, make a motion to have Brandon write up the bid sheet for the paving of that part of Mount Street.
Yeah, he needs to do formal specs as well.
Yeah.
so can someone make a motion that we?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Bud and Athena seconds.
Yes.
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 So this motion, it's not to advertise, it's to have Brandon.
He's just to prepare what he believes to be specs for that work project. The material spec, and then if you decide to bid it, then you can bid it later. But he'll at least give us an idea as to what we need as far as, how much, whatever material we're going to be using.
Yeah, Jim was nice enough, he even wrote up the whole advertisement.
Well, that's the best way to do it. That way there's
Yeah,
nothing
he did
wrong.
everything at one time, and then we would just approve it and put it in paper.
So based on this suggestion in talking with Brandon, do we need to make a motion to advertise?
No, you're just authorizing him to look at it and prepare a spec. Once if you go that far, then you're going out on the limb a little bit further.
So we'll have to wait a whole nother month.
Well, no, he can look at it and decide how much material you're going to need, and then give you prior to the next meeting as to what you may need. Now, if you decide that there's someone out there, you're going to bid it, all you have to do is call and get 4 council people to agree to allow, you know, the bid spec to be advertised, and then you can ratify it at your next meeting. Okay?
The next thing would be the closing lot sale at McGuire Home. We need a motion to execute the deed for the sale of the property that was the alley property, of the lots that were.
Lot we held back.
The lot that was held back. So I received a phone call from the company All Realty, and they are in contact with the Attorney Law's office to, and they've already written up a deed, and they're waiting for our meeting tonight.
I'll make a motion to execute the deed.
Okay?
Yes.
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 Yes. The next is the title searches of the taxes held in escrow of the McGuire properties. Just to let you know that that is, I'm waiting to hear back from, again, the title search company and McGuire. They're in the process of getting that all squared away. We're waiting to hear from them, which we should get some money back from the money that was held. I believe it was like $14,000 or $15,000 held in escrow. They paid the liens on the properties that had tax liens, so we should be free and clear of all that when that's done. Okay. The next thing would be the speed limit, 25-mile-per-hour zone that was approved. Brandon not being here, he would have given that report. PennDOT did a study on setting limits throughout our town of 25 miles per hour, and it was
on 351? Is that?
It's all over town.
I mean, is that Main Street too?
I don't really know. I guess Brandon would have to. I don't know if that was included or not. But it was approved by PennDOT, which would mean that we would have to purchase speed signs, limit signs for every street, and they provided a showing us where those signs needed to be placed and how it's to be done. So we received the bill for the study, and it was around $2,000 for the study. And the only problem, I think that I'm going to take the blame on this. I erred, and I should have thought more on this before we moved ahead on it. Because the cost to buy the signs plus the cost for the study, and here's the problem with it. We don't have anything to measure speed. So having a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, and if you're allowed to go 10 miles over, you're back at 35 miles an hour, which our speed limit is already. So it really did nothing.
You're not actually allowed 10 minutes over. 10 miles over. What happens is that, well, no, they don't give it to you. What happens is the margin of error is 10 miles, but they'll get you at the 11th.
Okay.
The radar or the laser, you know, is only, you can get caught 6 miles over that the state police have, okay? But our speed timing devices that municipalities are allowed to use have that margin of error. But normally now we're going 35. We're not losing anything because if they're allowed 10 miles over, you're giving them that margin of error. Now they're at 45.
Yeah, I'm going 45 now.
So,
well, thank you for that.
yeah. So you didn't waste that.
Okay, all right.
That was good.
Yes.
We do have Actron can enforce speed limits.
Okay.
We do that on 18. So we do, with the speed lines painted at a certain distance. But we have the capability of running speed enforcement in town with the certified stopwatch in 3 major districts. We use 200 up on 18. So we do have the capability to enforce the speed limit.
Okay.
Okay, so you said we didn't have the capability to do it. We do have that capability.
He just said the method that you use, you have to leave a 10, there's a 10 mile an hour
What
grace.
Norman said, we can't issue citations so they're 11 an hour with speed limit. There's a gap in there. But once it's 25, we start issuing citations at 36.
Right,
You know, at 35, it's 46.
right,
Up here, it's 50 miles an hour, so we gotta wait till
61.
61.
Right,
Okay?
Yeah.
That's because these machines are not as accurate as radar, so there's always an error involved. Okay, but yes,
Right.
we do have the capability of enforcing, we wrote a couple speeding tickets this week up on 18, so we do have that capability of enforcing speeding.
And the police officers also have the ability to issue citations for driving too fast for conditions. So if they believe, it's raining and it's, and there's fog and this and that, somebody's going fast, they don't actually have to have a speed timing device. In their estimation, the person was going too fast for conditions, so he can issue a citation.
right.
And that's hard to argue with at a magistrate's office, by the way. Because if the guy's driving fast, it's wet conditions, it's foggy,
Right.
or it's coming down hard.
5 miles for each one,
Yeah.
too.
So,
If I remember right.
yeah.
Like if it's foggy, you gotta take 5 mile an hour off the speed limit. If it's icy or something, another 5.
Well, I think you could use that as your
back
personal, you could use that as your personal
I think they taught us
barometer.
that back in the 70s.
Makes you want to dance.
The next is new business, and this is kind of just to let you all know that we had Eads. It is an engineering company come down to our office. They were the people that I met at several of the conferences, and they are to provide their expertise in grant applications. And the particular guy, Tracy Frampton is his name. He has worked on and was very knowledgeable in jumping through all the hoops of grants. So they looked over our storm drain maps, and they asked me what our priorities were for applying for grants. And I said that one of the main things are the condition of our storm drains and the absence of them in certain areas. So they told us, whenever that we were told them that we were low to moderate income and we were given that by the Beaver County, they were very excited about that because we are able then, they said, to apply for grants that require no match, and we could possibly get 1.3 million to fix the drainage system. So they also told us of companies or towns where they've actually gotten grants for renovation of certain things. So they were going to write up a proposal for us to see exactly what they could do for us. They also took our maps and they're going to give them back to us in a PDF file, so that, because we keep folding them, and Ken and I are always looking at them, and I thought they're eventually going to fall apart. So that was great news that they could do them in a PDF. But they will be submitting a proposal to us in the future. So, some of the things that I also, aside from the stormwater, was I mentioned that we would also, we're looking to put in a playground and to redo the field. They could do that. Another thing was putting in the whole Main Street, to redo all the Main Street. And they said that it could be work that when they put the storm drains in, they could actually do it in the sidewalks, So then all the sidewalks would be replaced. So they were just amazed that there really is no storm drains that are, we have them going down Mount Street, but that's kind of it. So, and there's nothing connecting from street or avenue or street to street. It's along the, it's just mainly down Richard Street. That's, you know, where they're all connected. So that was good to hear. So then soon we will be, the next topic would be the discussion of rectory. Once the contract for Bremen is done, we're going to have to be thinking about what to do with the rectory. So that will be coming up in a few months. So you could keep that in mind.
Can I make a topic on that? If everybody doesn't know, the rectory and the church building are on the same parcel of property. So maybe we should look at separating that, making 2 parcels of property out of it, subdividing it. So that way, if we want to sell the rectory and keep the church, we don't have to worry about, you know, we can already have that done. Because the utilities for the rectory, I think the water comes through the church. And I'm not sure if the electric and so forth comes from there also, but I know the water, because we had the issue with them breaking the water line from the church over to the rectory. So we should probably start looking at separating those 2 if we ever want to sell the rectory or sell the church separately.
It probably wouldn't be difficult to get a separate meter, because wherever the line enters the rectory, they can meter it there. And then you could also just meter then the main line into the church.
Yeah.
So that probably wouldn't be, that is probably not a big job.
We should probably look at subdividing the property so we can sell them if we want.
Has anyone reviewed the condition of the rectory since they've been using it?
So it's been a year or so since we looked. I think Ken's been in there.
I was in there. They keep it clean in there. There's not really.
Well, they did. They promised that they would be doing that, so I just wondered.
Yeah, there's no damage in there. They keep it pretty clean.
Okay.
Seems like it's in decent shape. If it was to be rented out for anything other than office or anything, it'd probably need repainted, cleaned up. Might need some floor coverings or something. As an office now, it's in pretty good shape.
Next is, we interviewed for the part-time maintenance position. We had one applicant, Michael Frederick. He's from Koppel. He lives down on Grand Street. And he was looking for a part-time job. He's doing some home schooling himself. And he said that he's very flexible. So we interviewed him and thought he would be good. He basically he had experience on a forklift, but he was willing to learn anything. So we told him that mainly it would be cutting grass, leaf collection, and working under the management of Ken, and just whenever Ken needed him is when he would be called. We're throwing around what a wage per hour for him would be. Tom and I thought $12 an hour.
If you limit him to 12 hours a week, it comes out for the rest of the year about a little over $2,000, somewhere around that. We had in the budget about $1,800 for a part-time employee anyhow, so Ken keeps him at 12 hours for the week at $12 an hour. We should be okay in our budget. It's if he accepts it.
Yes, I haven't approached him because I thought I would discuss it all with you first to see how you were with that arrangement of $12 an hour and just called when needed. Is that okay with all of you? Okay, that's it. Do we need to make a motion for that?
Yeah, you're hired, yes. you're spending money.
Okay, so I motion that we offer Michael Frederick $12 more as needed. 12, a max of 12 hours a week. Sorry, I'm back.
Max 12 hours.
Yeah.
Athena,
Who seconds it?
I'll second it.
Athena?
Yes.
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 Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Well, I think John had a question of his hand went up before you adjourned the meeting.
You have a question?
Question I had earlier, do we have a code enforcement officer?
Yes.
We do. I was wondering if he's doing anything towards the corner of Richland and or Richmond and Third Avenue. That guy's got bushes growing up the road.
Oh, the cat man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ham and Kirk almost got hit broadside by a state police officer, and he got issued for a ticket because you can't see up through that.
Yeah, they're getting, I noticed that.
Not only that, he's blocking the handicap access.
Plus, they're almost up to the wires too.
Well, I understand what the state of Pennsylvania against the law, blocking handicap
I looked
access.
at that and
Yeah, it's getting a lot of hand, I know that, I noticed that. The corner,
of Richard,
It would
Yeah.
be three,
something around there.
3,300, would it be?
Yeah, it would be 33.
Yeah.
33 or 3,300?
I tried to put out a sidewalk there, and scratching my arms all over it.
We'll look into it.
yeah, it's mentioned.